Hey, y'all. So I need to make a clarification to yesterday's post about the Globe and Mail article stating that there was interference from India in the election. I was called out by a Conservative member saying that I didn't read the actual report. So to be fair to all of my viewers, I said, okay, I'm going to read the whole report from beginning to end. It was 123 pages. So for those of you who don't have time to read 123 pages, let me just give you a brief synopsis of what took place. So there was interference in the elections from basically the last 5 years from both China and India. So everyone keeps coming to me about, oh, but Trudeau and China and what. Okay, let me clarify what happened there. So a Mr. Chong was a sitting MP in the Canadian Liberal government, and the Chinese decided to investigate him. So what they were doing was they were looking into his family, his friends, where they lived, what they were doing, like 100% investigation into these people. Now, was anything proven that they were doing this nefariously? No. We don't know what other countries are doing with people's personal information. Many countries do this on many other political appointees. They look for this information. Now, what they do with it, there's no proof. We don't know. Could it be nefarious? Sure. But was it, according to CSIS at the time? No. So they did create a report, however. They didn't feel it was necessary to warn Mr. Chong about what was going on. It wasn't at that level. But they did feel it necessary to send a report to the government on what was happening. And so they did that. But you got to remember, when you send a report to the government, it doesn't go straight to the Prime Minister's desk. The Prime Minister has a million things to do. So these committees are responsible for creating these reports, determining what's happening, determining threat assessment, put it on the next person's desk. That person then verifies whether or not this information should be reviewed by the Prime Minister, and it goes to the next person's desk. And then it gets percolated from wherever they're located to Ottawa so that the Prime Minister can review this information. So you got to remember, there's a lot of steps in the process of what happens between an investigation and getting it to the Prime Minister. Now, the ball was absolutely dropped. Somebody in that process somewhere decided it wasn't important enough for the Prime Minister to know about. It wasn't that big of a deal. So did they drop the ball on this as a Liberal government? Absolutely. But if the Prime Minister didn't know what was going on, you can't sit here and point fingers at Trudeau and say Trudeau and China and yeah, you can't. If he had no idea about the report, he can't be held accountable for it. And that's exactly what the report states. And they also have recommendations for the future on how to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. Was there a lack of urgency? Yes. Did somebody in the Liberal government drop the ball? Absolutely. But was it because they were siding with China? No. There wasn't anything severe enough that they felt that it was necessary. Now, when it comes to India, however, India's involvement was because of the murder of a high-profile Indian government asset on British Columbia soil. This person was murdered. And at the time that it took place, Canada stood up and said, we will find out who did this. We will stand by, our Indian counterparts. And then it came out that the investigation determined that the likely suspect of this was India themselves. So they came on Canadian soil and assassinated one of their own. So when when Trudeau stood up and said, okay, whoa, this is not acceptable behavior. And it took a few months for this investigation to happen. When he stood up and said, no, this is not acceptable, all of a sudden, MPs in British Columbia were getting dropped from their positions, basically, and new Conservative MPs were being put into place. So there has been... how do I explain this? So Poilievre technically did not know about the India interference, okay, on paper. They do not have on paper proof that Poilievre was involved. I'll give you that, okay? There's nothing on paper that says he was involved. However, surprisingly, all of a sudden, the Conservatives are real important in the BC elections and the Alberta elections. So they know that people have been, promoted by monetary means. So we don't know who or where the money is going. We know that there is money coming in to promote certain candidates. Now, whether those candidates are aware of it or not is up for debate. Okay. But you can't tell me that the fact that Pierre Poilievre does not have his security clearance to learn about these facts, to learn about this interference, he does not have the clearance to be notified about these issues. So the issues in his own party, in the Conservative Party, he does not know what is happening because he does not have the security clearance and he refuses to get it. So is it documented that there's cheating among the Conservatives? No, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. Pay attention. The IDU was created specifically to get Conservatives or right-wing politicians in power. India is part of the IDU. India has a great stake in what happens in Canadians, in the Canadian economy and in the Canadian political system. So my point is not that Pierre is guilty. My point is that Pierre needs to take every step possible to make sure he's protecting his own party from outside interference. And by not getting security clearance, he is not doing this. He's not actively going out and saying, hey, if there's interference in my party, I should be the one to stand up and look at that. I should be the one to hold them accountable and make sure there's nothing shady going on in my party because I want to stand by true principles. He's not doing that. He's not standing up for his party. He's not standing up for anybody. He's just saying that wasn't me. He can't prove it. Come on, Pierre. Do the right thing. If Canada is being persuaded by other countries, wouldn't you want to know that? Wouldn't you want to be aware of that as national security? Wouldn't you care that someone in your own party could possibly be affected by this? Wouldn't you want to know that? But you don't. And you use the excuse that you can't say anything about the Liberals if you know all the information. They actually offered to share the information with you about your own party and your own party only. They said, you know what? If you don't want to get clearance, fine. We feel that this is a big enough threat that you need to be aware of what's going on in your own party. And he literally said, no thanks. No thanks. What? You could have denied learning about anything to do with the Liberals if that was your case. You could have just put it aside and said, no, I don't want to learn about the Liberals because then I can't speak about it. All right, fine, if that's your argument. But they literally wanted to tell you about people in your own party and you refused to look at it. Why is that? Is that maybe because one of your own MPs is best friends with JD Vance? Maybe? You think? You think maybe because this guy has some sort of influence? Come on. Let's be real, people. You want to go by what's official and what's on paper. Look behind the scenes. Pierre Poilievre should be coming out right now and saying, I support our government as a whole. I support our country as a whole. I support investigating any interference from any outside source that undermines the democracy of our voting system. He should be standing strong and investigating anything that could possibly cause our election to be misconstrued by another country. But instead, all he's doing is throwing up the "it wasn't me" sign. Wasn't me, can't prove it. You know what? I'm tired of it. You either stand for Canada or you're standing for yourself. And as far as I can tell, all he's doing is standing for himself. Elbows up, Canada. Start paying attention.